Yeah, I just feel really bad about how it all went down last night. Like, we were both drunk and there was people flying everywhere. I didn't actually want to break up with him. Anyways, talk to you later. Meet at like Starbucks or something. Jason? Yeah, I'm just at his place. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye. Jason, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it last night. Jason? Jason? Let's try and figure this out. Looks like a suicide to me, Martinez. Hey Jazzy, what you up to?
Working on the Jason Doe case.
Oh, speaking of which, I just got back from interviewing the victim's girlfriend, Abby, who says she was at a party with him last night, last time she saw him alive. Around 1 in the morning, she said, and they were drinking and something happened and she dumped him and he was apparently really depressed. So she went over this afternoon at 1:30 to see if he was okay and to apologize and work things out, but she found him dead.
Okay, we recorded when we went to the crime scene at 2, we recorded the body temperature to be 27.27 degrees Celsius. Assuming the original body temperature was 37 degrees Celsius, and the body loses 0.78 degrees Celsius for the first 12 hours, then 0.37 degrees Celsius for every hour after, the body must have been dead for 13 hours.
What about the bite marks found on Jason's arm?
Well, the bite marks on his arm have the same distances and ratios as his cat's dental pattern. And since cats tend to eat dead things, it must have tried to eat Jason.
How gruesome. The majority of the evidence seems to point to a suicide.
The cause of death has been determined that it was a severe knife wound to the abdominal region, and it appears to be self-inflicted. And so I'm going to classify this case as a suicide.
Let's file a report.
Sydney? Sydney? I've got a weird smell coming from your room. Are you okay in there? Sydney? Oh God. Oh God. No! "911, I have a dead body here."
Hey, Henley.
While you were filing reports, I headed down to the apparent suicide of Sidney Crosby. Here's what I found at the crime scene.
As you can see, there was an unidentified substance located near the body suspected to be drugs. The positioning of the body was recorded and photographed before we pulled any evidence off of it. We found a knife still in the victim's abdomen with blood pooling on the right side. There were blood splatter drops distant from the body that were similar to low-velocity blood splatter. It's unusual to find these type of blood splatter for this type of case. We collected some skin found underneath her nails and some hair that may or not be hers, but need further analysis to know for sure. We also found an apparent suicide note, which is suspected to be forged and was taken into the evidence file.
All right, let's take this evidence to the lab and see what we can determine.
All right. Now that we have gathered all the evidence from the homicide of Sidney Crosby, it's time to analyze.
Let's start by running the substance we found at the crime scene through the mass spec. In the meantime, we should test the blood types of the blood splatter and the victim.
you can see, the victim had A positive blood because the blood coagulated for the anti-A serum and the anti-Rh serum.
The blood splatter was AB negative because it coagulated only in the anti-A and B serums. This means that somebody else was there during the scene of the crime.
Let's place the hair we found at the crime scene under a microscope. The medullary index is greater than 1/3, meaning it is animal hair. The cortex is vacuoled, which means it is dog hair. Did Sydney have a dog?
Hey Jazzy, how's it going?
Oh, I'm just working on some files from the Sidney Crosby case. The incident that happened was very similar to the dismissed Jason Doe case.
Oh, how so?
Well, the causes of death are the same, and the handwriting looks very, very familiar. But I need further analysis to confirm my suspicions.
Let's head down to the lab and analyze the texts in the suicide notes and run some chromatography tests.
Sure. Let's get the chromatography of both inks set up.
I'm going to pull the inks from both of the notes and place them 5 centimeters apart to prevent cross-contamination. And put them into the solvent and let it sit for a while to let the ink separate.
While we're letting that set, I'm going to compare the two notes. As you can see, they both share the same word, goodbye. I'm going to compare the center to bullet ratio for the E's and the ratio of 2 heights for the G and E and the letter to the width ratio of the Y.
The chromatography results are back. As you can see, they're the same ink because of they share the same RH factor. Jazzy, I think you were right.
Let's get some tech analysis to see how these two victims were connected. The results from the tech analysis confirmed that the two victims are in fact related because they both are in the same line of drugs.
We should gather the DNA from both scenes and run them under electrophoresis. We've labeled the blood of Jason Doe, the blood of
Sidney Crosby,
the skin found in crime scene 2, and the hair found at crime scene 1.
While that's running, let's analyze the fingerprints and put them into the database.
There is a matching print on both knives that aren't the victims. You can tell they are the same because they have the same delta and an island in the very center and an island on the left of the center. There's also scars that match each other.
The gels have finished running, and the conclusion is that the skin found under the crime scene, under the nails of Sidney Crosby, matches the hair from found at the first scene of crime. You can see because they match.
I'm going to input the DNA into the system and see if we can get any matches. Right now, all we can do is wait.
Hi, Mr. Collins.
Detective Martinez,
Detective Huntley,
What can I do for you
we
today?
believe these two cases are linked by the same murderer.
we hear you're the best criminal profiler around.
Well, let me take a look. It's very interesting. Well, as you can see by his writing style, he's probably college educated. And since he committed these crimes at night, I would normally consider him to be a disorganized offender. But because of the level of planning that went into these crimes, I would actually peg him as a mixed offender.
Okay, that actually will help. Is there any more information that you can gather from this file that will help us narrow down this number of suspects?
Well, the fact that he was involved with drugs would lead me to believe he's fairly young, but he's also smart enough to plan an event, which means he's probably not doing the drugs himself. So I'd probably peg him in his late 20s.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. We appreciate your help and cooperation in this investigation.
No problem.
We've exhausted all we can do with this evidence, and we are no closer to finding a suspect.
Let's classify the case as cold until further evidence presents itself. Want go get some Oreos or something? Love you.
Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle.
Okay.
Can you please follow this line?
Yeah.
How much alcohol have you consumed today?
What do you mean by consumed?
Sir, I'm going to need you to take this breathalyzer test. Holy moly! Your blood alcohol content is way over legal limit. I'm gonna need to take you in.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids and your dog.
Oh boy! This fingerprint matches the fingerprints found in the case those detectives were working on. I better go notify them. Hey Huntley, what are you doing here?
Oh, your window was open.
Wait, what?
You received an email from Constable Patrick, and our case has been reopened.
Really?
Yeah, he said a DUI was pulled in yesterday, and his fingerprints matched the ones found on the knife from both the Crosby and Doe case. They did a background on him and discovered his best friend was killed by a drug overdose with drug levels matching the concentrations of the drugs found at Crosby's apartment.
Do you think that he could have killed the victims because he was avenging his late friend?
Yeah, I would consider it a suitable motivating factor that would lead to murder.
It says here in the suspect's file that he also owns a dog, which can explain the dog hair that we found on Sydney. Let's take him into interrogation.
Do you have the keys to these by any chance?
Again?
Yeah.
I have a spare.
Love you.
We have several reasons to believe that you, Grayson Chase, have committed the murders of Jason Doe and Sidney Crosby.
You've been asked to be interviewed under a polygraph test, and we're going to start off some positive controls. What is your name?
Grayson Chase,
How old are you?
27,
When is your birthday?
March 27th, 1988.
Has a friend of yours recently been killed by overdosing on drugs?
Yes,
Have you felt any need to avenge your late friend?
yes,
Have you acted on these feelings for revenge?
no,
Have you seen these two people before?
no,
Huntley. His pulse rate has increased, his blood pressure has increased, and his perspiration has elevated.
Should we try to trick him into telling the truth?
Let's try.
So, Grayson, we have video evidence of you leaving the scene of the crime.
it's a lie. There were no cameras there.
How do you know there were no cameras?
Grayson Chase, you are under the arrest of the murder of Jason Doe and Sidney Crosby. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Another case solved by Detectives Martinez and Huntley.
In this city, justice never sleeps, but I have a feeling we may need to.
Let's go home. Definitely.